Your soundbar isn't broken. You're probably making one tiny HDMI mistake. So why does your TV keep playing sound through its speakers instead of your expensive soundbar? Today, I'll show you the 3 hidden ARC mistakes killing your audio and how to fix them in minutes. Like the video and subscribe for honest soundbar reviews that help you buy smarter. Comment. Make sure to tell me what the next video should be about. And check the description for best prices and product links. Mistake number 1. You're plugged into the wrong port. This mistake sounds almost too simple, but it's one of the most common reasons HDMI ARC fails. You connect the HDMI cable, everything looks right, and yet your soundbar stays completely silent. The problem could be that the cable is connected to the wrong HDMI port on your TV. Look closely at the back of your television. You'll probably see several HDMI ports that look identical, but usually only one is labeled ARC or eARC. That specific port is designed to send audio from your TV back to your soundbar. The other HDMI ports are normally inputs, so they won't send your TV's audio through the soundbar. This is easy to miss because the ARC label can be extremely small, and there is no universal port number. On one TV, it might be HDMI 1, while another might use HDMI 3. So don't assume the first HDMI port is automatically the correct one. Check the label directly on the TV or in the manual. Now, trace the HDMI cable from your soundbar to the TV. Is it actually connected to the port marked ARC or eARC? If not, move it to the correct port and test your sound again. For many people, this is the entire problem. But there's one more connection you need to verify. Your soundbar also has a dedicated HDMI port, usually labeled HDMI out ARC, HDMI out ARC, or 2TV ARC. That specific output needs to connect to the ARC, eARC port on your television. Once both ends are connected correctly, test your soundbar. If audio suddenly comes back, you've solved the problem in minutes. But if you're still getting silence, don't worry. The physical connection is now correct, which means our next suspect is the TV's hidden audio and HDMI CEC settings. Mistake number 2. Your TV's hidden settings are sabotaging you. If your HDMI cable is connected to the correct ARC or eARC ports and you're still getting silence, the next problem is usually hiding inside your TV's settings. There are 2 important things to check: HDMI CEC and your TV's audio output. First is HDMI CEC, the technology that allows your TV and soundbar to communicate. It's what lets your TV remote control the soundbar's volume and allows devices to automatically turn each other on and off. Different brands give CEC different names, which makes this setting surprisingly easy to miss. On Samsung TVs, look for AnyNet Plus. On LG, it's SimpLink. Sony calls it Bravia Sync, while Vizio usually labels it simply CEC. TCL and Roku TVs commonly use Control Other Devices, and Philips uses EasyLink. The menu location can vary by model, but the important thing is finding the CEC setting and making sure it's enabled. But enabling CEC alone isn't enough. You also need to tell the TV where its audio should go. Go into the TV's sound settings and find something like sound output, audio output, or speakers. If it's still set to TV speakers, your television may continue sending sound through its internal speakers instead of the soundbar. Change that option to something like HDMI ARC, eARC, audio system, or your soundbar's name. This is the setting that officially tells the TV, stop using your built-in speakers and send the audio through HDMI. Now test your system again. If there's still no sound, try a quick CEC refresh. Turn CEC off, restart the TV, then turn CEC back on, and reconnect the soundbar. This forces the devices to establish a fresh communication handshake. If the sound suddenly returns, you've found the culprit. But if you're still hearing nothing, the physical connection and basic settings are likely correct. At that point, we need to investigate the HDMI handshake, audio format, cable, and power state of the devices. Mistake number 3. The HDMI handshake is failing. So you've checked the ports, enabled CEC, selected the soundbar as your TV's audio output, and you're still getting silence. This is where things get more frustrating, because everything can look completely normal while the HDMI handshake has quietly failed. Start with the HDMI cable. For standard ARC, most decent high-speed HDMI cables should work. But if you're using an extremely old, damaged, or questionable cable, it can cause intermittent audio or prevent the connection from establishing properly. If you're using eARC, Replacing an old cable with a certified ultra-high-speed HDMI cable is a smart way to eliminate the cable as a possible problem. If nothing works, it's time for the full power cycle. Turn off both the TV and soundbar, then physically unplug both from the wall. Disconnect the HDMI cable from both ends and leave everything disconnected for at least 1 minute. After the wait, reconnect the HDMI cable, then plug the TV back into power and turn it on. Let the TV completely boot before powering the soundbar back on. This forces both devices to start from a clean state and perform a fresh HDMI handshake. It sounds ridiculously simple, but this reset can solve problems that normal restarts can't. If your soundbar suddenly comes back to life afterward, the hardware was probably fine all along. The connection simply needed a clean reset. Fast rescue segment. If you've gone through the first 3 mistakes and your soundbar is still completely silent, don't assume it's dead yet. There are a few final checks that can save you from unnecessary repairs or replacing perfectly good hardware. First, check for firmware updates on both your TV and soundbar. Manufacturers regularly release updates that fix HDMI compatibility, ARC, eARC, and CEC problems. Go into the settings menu of both devices and manually check for the latest available firmware. If an update doesn't solve the problem, consider performing a factory reset on the soundbar. This should be a last resort because you'll lose your saved settings, but it can clear deeper software problems that a normal restart can't fix. After resetting it, reconnect the HDMI cable and configure the ARC settings again from scratch. There's also one important thing to remember. Not every HDMI cable is created equally. If you've been using an old cable for years, replacing it with a quality certified cable is one of the cheapest troubleshooting steps you can take. A damaged cable can cause intermittent audio, failed handshakes, or complete ARC failure. And if HDMI ARC still refuses to cooperate, you have a reliable fallback: optical audio. Optical doesn't offer all the capabilities of eARC, and it can't carry formats such as lossless Dolby True HD or DTS-X, but it can provide stable digital audio for many basic surround setups. So don't immediately throw your soundbar away. Check the firmware, consider a reset, replace a questionable HDMI cable, and use optical as a backup if necessary. In many cases, the problem is a setting or connection issue rather than failed hardware. The final conclusion. And there you have it. When your soundbar suddenly stops working over HDMI ARC, the problem usually comes down to 3 things: the wrong HDMI port, hidden TV settings, or a failed HDMI handshake. The good news is that all 3 can usually be checked and fixed without buying new equipment. Start with a physical connection. Make sure the HDMI cable runs from your TV's ARC or eARC port directly to the soundbar's HDMI out ARC, eARC port. Then, check your TV settings. Enable HDMI CEC, select the soundbar as the TV's audio output, and make sure you're not accidentally leaving the TV speakers enabled. If everything looks correct but there's still no sound, move to the handshake troubleshooting. Try PCM as a basic test, then switch back to auto, Bitstream, or pass-through once the connection is working. If necessary, perform a complete power cycle by unplugging both devices and reconnecting them from a clean state. Finally, check firmware and the HDMI cable before assuming the hardware has failed. These simple checks can save you hours of frustration and potentially save you from replacing a soundbar that was perfectly fine. Now I want to hear from you. Which mistake fixed your soundbar? Was it the wrong ARC port, a hidden CEC setting, or the full power cycle trick? Drop your TV and soundbar model in the comments and share what worked. And if this guide helped you get your sound back, hit the like button and subscribe. We cover the hidden settings, common mistakes, and real fixes that help you get the most out of your home theater without wasting money. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your sound.